Mountaineer Nation, let's ride.
But Don Nealon's Mountaineers enjoy walking in where angels fear to tread. As the hills of West Virginia resound with the sounds of Golden Blue football. Here is Harrison trouble, stiff arms, a would-be tackler, comes down over the 25 to 20, goes around about at the 15 to 10 to 5, a touchdown West Virginia, he did it!
Takes the Slater one-on-one with the defender, look at that one!
West Virginia football, you know what that's about, they don't know what it's about, West Virginia football, we're all our people! Let them know. Leave no doubt tonight. Leave no doubt tonight. No doubt. They shouldn't have played the old Golden Blue.
It is a great night to be a Mountaineer wherever you may be.
What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome back to the Country Roads webcast. As always, I'm your host, Jordan Cruz. Great Saturday morning to everyone that's out there up early with me on this West Virginia bye week Saturday. I know me and Bradley and Steven all tried to get together, a couple times this week, try and record a bye week Babble podcast episode, but we're all pretty busy and couldn't really get together to do it. So I decided, why not? I got to work Saturday night. So I figured, with the Mountaineers off, I went ahead and worked, but I figured why not go ahead and go live a little bit on our YouTube this morning and talk about some of the things we were going to talk about in that episode, which kind of stepping back from WVU a little bit. I mean, we can talk about it a little bit throughout. If you guys are in here, appreciate you tuning in live on YouTube and live on Twitch. If you're in here, drop you, questions, comments, concerns in the chat as always. And, we'll talk a little bit of whatever along the way, but mainly here, like I said, we've been real busy, so I hadn't gotten to do the top player grade videos that I usually do weekly for the Mountaineers as well. So I haven't got to do those for the game against Texas. So I'm going to do that here at the top, offensively and defensively, and then, probably chop those out and have the shorter version of just those videos up on the channel later this weekend as well for the people that don't want to sit through the whole live stream or whatever, and that's fine, but have that up as well. So I'll do that. And then the one thing we really wanted to do during this bye week Babble edition was talk about some of these other games on the Big 12 slate without the Mountaineers in action. So I'm going to look at those and kind of give my picks for those, I guess. But let's kick it off with the top 5 highest graded offensive players for the Mountaineers, according to PFF, in the game against Texas. Starting off here at number 5, and it was Justin Johnson, the Mountaineer running back, coming in with a 65.9 offensive grade. Stepped up when the Mountaineers really needed him to, I think. We all saw the scary injury to C.J. Donaldson, and still, thoughts and prayers with him and his family and friends and, everyone within the program, of course, because that injury's, hard to deal with. He's going to be out for the next game, but the most important thing is that he's fine. His extremities are all in good condition. He's able to walk and things like that. So, in concussion protocol now, and hopefully he sits out and takes the time that he needs to get fully healthy, because that was definitely a very scary injury. But that being said, once he went down, I thought Justin Johnson stepped in and did a really good job. The Mountaineers had struggled to run the ball, and the little bit of success they did have mainly came with Justin Johnson in the backfield. The Mountaineers only ran for 61 yards in the game, but Justin Johnson, I think, had 40-some rushing yards. So, he did pretty good when he got in there and was called upon, and I think it's a face that we're going to continue to see more of as the season progresses. Seems like he's really gaining confidence in that backfield, and with Donaldson out, who knows, maybe Justin Johnson will step into the starting role. I don't expect it. I still think Tony Mathis to get the start, as they've continued to show loyalty to do throughout this season. But I do think Justin Johnson may end up with the bulk of the carries, and he was the 5th highest graded Mountaineer in the game against Texas. At number 4, Sam James, the Mountaineer wide receiver, with a 67.6 offensive grade against the Longhorns. I was a little bit surprised by this one, as I'm sure most of you are. We know the Mountaineers receivers really struggled, pass catchers in general, to hang on to the football. But seems like, I guess, Sam James was really, open a lot and, doing what he was supposed to do. Now, whether or not he hauled in the pass or the other players hauled in the pass is a completely different story. But he did enough of his job and the things he was supposed to do and won his matchups enough to earn the 4th highest grade for the Mountaineers in the game against Texas with a 67.6, which brings us into the top 3, which actually I am a little bit encouraged by this top 3 for the Mountaineers in this game against Texas, because I was surprised to see that they were all 3 still offensive linemen. And let's get into that here at number 3 with Zach Frazier, the West Virginia center, coming out with a 68.9 offensive grade. He's the man that makes it all happen there for the Mountaineers, making the calls, doing it all in the middle there, and really the anchor of this offense. And I think a big reason that we've seen the offensive line improve, the way that it has, and the debate of how much improvement that has been, I digress on that. But that being said, I definitely think that we can say we've seen a little bit of improvement at least, and the PFF grade's definitely shown that out for sure, I do believe, with the top 3, like I said, in this game, surprisingly, all being offensive linemen. But Zach Frazier's having a great year, and hopefully that continues for him. And then another Mountaineer that's having a great year finishes as the 2nd highest graded player, and that's Doug Nestor, playing the right guard spot for the Mountaineers with a 69.1 offensive grade. As we know, began the season as the right tackle. Jordan White injured early, been back at right guard ever since, but been playing just as good there. And nonetheless does it again, follows up his performance against Virginia Tech, where he was the highest graded Mountaineer player on offense, and then comes up in Texas as the 2nd highest graded Mountaineer player on offense. So Doug Nestor also having a very good season, especially here recently, finishing as the 2nd highest graded West Virginia player on offense in week 5, or game 5 rather, I guess I should say. And then number 1 for the Mountaineers, I was glad to see this one, and that's James Gmiter with the 74.9 offensive grade. Mountaineers left guard there on the offensive line. And the reason I said I was glad to see this one is because he's kind of been a little bit maligned for his play this season, I suppose you could say. I know against Pitt, he had really low, I think it was pass blocking grade. Can't remember. But he's kind of a guy that people said, maybe the right tackle's not the weak point. Maybe it's this. But I think that this goes to show that James Gmiter is fully capable and is doing some good things there, especially on that inside run for the Mountaineers. They need that solid guard, center guard, and I think they have that and a lot of strength there. They can get pushed with Gmiter, Frazier, and Nestor. As you see, all 3 of them here finishing as the top 3 graded players for the Mountaineers. So I think that shows that out, and hopefully James Gmiter continues to progress throughout the season and have a good year of his own as well, because the Mountaineer offensive line is really going to need to perform well for the Mountaineers to have any success moving forward in the season, as we saw the offensive struggles early in this game against Texas. Second half looked a little bit more like what we've seen throughout the rest of the season. So here's hoping that the first half was an aberration and the rest of the season goes according to plan and kind of the way that the first 4 games have went, rather than the way that this game 5 had went. But nonetheless, those are the top 5 highest graded Mountaineers in the loss against Texas here for game 5 of the West Virginia football season. So let's flip it over to the other side, and let's take a look at the top 5 highest graded Mountaineer players on defense in game 5 of the 2022 WVU football season. Kicking it off at number 5, we were ended the offensive one on the offensive line. We'll begin the defensive players on the defensive line, starting with the defensive end, Edward Vesterinen, with a 71.9 grade for the Mountaineers on defense in this one, more commonly known as Eddie V, and he's been having a quietly good season. The Mountaineers have gone to a 4-down front some at times. I think a little bit of that is due to some injuries at Bandit, Jared Bartlett nursing one currently. But, also when teams try and big boy them, they'll go 4 down. And Eddie V is a guy that comes in that situation a lot, along with Mike Lockhart. But I think he's really shown a lot of good progress there on that defensive line for the Mountaineers as a player that's fully capable of coming in and filling in at any time needed and getting a good amount of playing time. And I think he's got a really bright future for the Mountaineers moving forward as probably the most successful of the international players that they've gotten up to this point. And I think he may end up having the best career of those said players as well moving forward. But against Texas, he finishes as the 5th highest graded Mountaineer on defense with a 71.9 defensive grade. And then here at number 4, talking about those bandits, and we have one in Lanell Carr with a 72.2 defensive grade for the Mountaineers against Texas. Got the start in this game, actually. As I said, Jared Bartlett nursing an injury, and so he saw the majority of the snaps there at the bandit position when the Mountaineers decided to play with one. And I thought maybe had what quietly could have been one of the better games of his Mountaineer career, and the numbers tend to show that out as well, as he finishes as the 4th highest graded Mountaineer with a 72.2 grade. And that's good to see because the Mountaineers really need production from that bandit position moving forward, and he's going to play a hand in that along with Bartlett this season and possibly beyond as well. So then moving on to the 3rd highest graded Mountaineer on defense against Texas, and that was Dante Stills with a 74.8 defensive grade from his defensive tackle position. And listen, guys, I know a lot of people have been trying to harp Dante Stills isn't showing up on the stat sheet, and I've been hearing these player grades videos telling you every week, and I'm going to tell you yet again because he's here every time. And every time he's here because he's doing his job. He's commanding double teams. He's not popping out on the stat sheet because he's a main focus of the other team's offensive game plan for the most of the time is not letting Dante Stills beat them. So he's commanding double teams, but that's allowing some of these other guys to make plays. That's why you're seeing the Eddie V's pop up on here, the Lanell Carrs. That's why Jordan Jefferson has had such a good season to this point, I would even argue, as well as Sean Martin. So Dante Stills may not be popping up on the stat sheet, but he is still having a good season as far as his performance-wise and what he's doing for the Mountaineers. And hopefully that continues. And, as he continues to work hard and do the things that he's doing, I think the stats will come as well as he continues to play within this scheme. But either way, bright future for Dante Stills, not only for the rest of the season, but at the next level as he continues his football playing career beyond the Mountaineers after 2022. And I'm really excited to see where he ends up. But continuing to be one of the highest graded Mountaineers on defense, and that is no different here against Texas in Game 5, as he's the 3rd highest graded Mountaineer with a 74.8 defensive grade. Top 2 here, Aubrey Burks for the Mountaineers coming back, been battling an injury. I thought he played really good early in the season, and in this game impressed as well, playing that free safety spot for the Mountaineers, coming out with a 76.7 defensive grade, and that was great to see for Aubrey Burks. And I think the standout play, of course, everyone kind of looks to is the way that he defended that pass on, I believe it was Texas's first, it might have been their opening drive in the second half. If not, it was their second. But he was in perfect position on the pass, also went up and high pointed the ball. The only thing he didn't do was secure the pass. Of course, it ended up as a Texas touchdown as it went through his hands and fell right into the arms of Xavier Worthy, who was laying on the ground. Just, the ball definitely not bouncing the Mountaineers' way on that one, literally and figuratively. But that being said, Aubrey Burks, I thought, showed a lot on that play, and he's shown a lot this season as being, one of the better parts of a extremely weak secondary. He's been one of the lone bright spots, and that's good to see as him only being a sophomore. So hopefully he continues to progress and can help shore up that secondary for the Mountaineers because they're going to need it this season and beyond. That's for sure. And speaking of, the top graded player for the Mountaineers comes from that secondary actually in this game against Texas, and that is Andrew Wilson Lamp, who comes out as the highest graded Mountaineer player on defense in Game 5 with a 77.8 defensive grade, playing that cornerback spot. And look, what stands out here to you is that number 2 and number 1 are both from the secondary. That's extremely surprising, but the bright spot of that is that both of these guys are very young. Wilson Lamp, I believe, is a redshirt freshman. As I said, Burks a sophomore. So both extremely young, but play the young guys more. That's what everyone is preaching about with the secondary, with the struggles, that we've seen with the FCS transfer, McCormick, Rashad Ajayi, mixed bag as well. But the secondary's been very bad. And I think looking at these numbers right here bear this out, that some of these young guys that the coaches didn't believe were ready to play are the ones that are really performing, whether it be Andrew Wilson Lamp this game, Jacoby Spells the game before, Aubrey Burks this game as well. But I think Andrew Wilson-Lamp definitely deserves more playing time. He's a guy that's we've been like, where has he been? Because we saw him in the spring, and then finally he pops up in this game. I think he played about 25 snaps, gets the only pass deflection for the Mountaineers, and finishes with the highest grade with a 77.8, which is an impressive defensive grade for the Mountaineers on defense in Game 5. So hopefully we see more of him moving forward because, as I said, the Mountaineers desperately need to shore up the secondary, not only this season, but beyond for sure. So there it is, the top 5 graded defensive players for the Mountaineers in Game 5 in the loss to the Texas Longhorns. So that being said, there's the top 5 players on offense for the Mountaineers and the top 5 players on defense for the Mountaineers, according to PFF in Game 5 of the 2022 season. I know that's a lot later than I usually bring that content, but with the Mountaineers on a bye week, I guess took my time, and I think we were all kind of reeling following the unacceptable, performance against Texas that we all hoped that we wouldn't see. So maybe a step back from it was, good for us as fans here as well, during the bye week. Just take a step back for a second. But still wanted to bring it to you guys just a little bit later. But with the bye week, I figured that would be okay. But, with the Mountaineers on a bye week, though, I'm going to be, paying attention to a few more of the Big 12 games, as I'm sure the rest of Mountaineer Nation will today. And, college football around the nation as a whole, of course, as the Mountaineers off. We'll play again on Thursday the 13th against Baylor. That's going to be the Stripes Stadium game. 7 p.m. kick, another Thursday night primetime contest for the Mountaineers in that one. But before that, there's definitely some games going on this week in college football and, of course, around the conference. Just because the Mountaineers aren't inactive, doesn't mean that there's not football going on. It's football season, right? Here we go. Silas popping up in the chat. Glad to see you out here on this Saturday morning, Silas. He said, let's go. I'll be in the stands Thursday. See you there, Mountaineers. Yeah, excited for it, Silas. Night games in Morgantown, always special, even regardless of what type of season the Mountaineers are having. That's going to be a fun one, and I believe hopefully the crowd is loud and rowdy and can really do some things, and hopefully the Mountaineers can pull one off there. But that being said, Silas, appreciate you hopping in. I just covered the top 5 players, according to PFF, for the Mountaineers against Texas on offense and defense. The weekly video series I try and bring brought that. Now I'm going to get into a little bit of the Big 12 games, kind of give my predictions for those with the Mountaineers off this week. So just a little short Saturday morning live stream here on YouTube and Twitch, just to start off your Saturday college football day. Hopefully you tune into this, whether you're watching it now live. If not, maybe you catch it on the playback and hear the top graded Mountaineers as well as some Big 12 conference talk. That being said, if you are watching on YouTube, really appreciate it. While you're in here, do us a favor, hit the like button, hit the thumbs up. That'll help this video's performance and help future videos performances as well. And if you're on the playback, you can do that as well. Just go ahead, take a second, scroll down, click the like as I talk here. Fast, easy, free, and then it is super helpful for us as we continue to try and build the Country Roads community throughout Mountaineer Nation. And in turn with that, if you haven't already, hit that red subscribe button right there. Helps us, helps you, helps get more of this Mountaineer football content out to Mountaineer Nation. And then click that notification bell beside the subscribe button. If you are subscribed, it'll notify you when we go live. Especially, it's good for impromptu times like this when it wasn't scheduled. And, you'll at least be notified that we are live, and maybe you can hop in the chat, talk a little WVU with us or whatever we're talking about that day, which today at this time is going to be a little bit more Big 12 related. I'm going to get into some of these games from the slate today before I get out of here. I'll keep it brief on this one, but if you guys are in here and want to drop anything in the chat, WVU related or otherwise, questions, comments, concerns, after I touch on these Big 12 games, I'll address some of those before I get up on out here on this little bye week Babble impromptu live stream. But that being said, as far as the Big 12 slate today at noon, of course, the big one, right? I never would have thought that you would have said College Game Days in Lawrence, Kansas today, but they are there, and both of these teams are ranked and sitting at the top of the Big 12. I guess TCU is not so surprising, except for the fact that it's coming, in the first year after Gary Patterson that they're doing this. But TCU 4-0, Kansas 5-0. Number 17 ranked TCU traveling to Lawrence to take on number 19 ranked Kansas. Coming up at noon, that's going to be on Fox Sports 1. TCU currently favored by 7. I don't know. I think this one is one that's a bit of a toss-up. Personally, as far as the spread, I'm staying away from it myself just because I feel like Kansas the past couple of weeks have maybe shown some chinks in the armor. You could argue that they probably should have lost last week. Iowa State missed, 3 field goals, including one that would have sent it to overtime. So they snuck away there with they're probably the most lackluster offensive performance of the season at this point, only scoring 14 points. So you wonder if they're starting to, show, like I said, a little bit of the chinks in the armor there, and TCU is going to be able to expose that because this TCU team is really rolling right now. Their offense is looking stellar. Sonny Dykes, we knew that it would, be more of an air raid system, but Garrett Riley, the brother of Lincoln Riley, coordinated very impressively, and it's, almost looking like a Lincoln Riley offense. You're getting guys wide open on these passing patterns, and just Kendra Miller, the running back there, is having an awesome year, both catching the ball and running the ball. Very impressive. Max Duggan's turned the corner. He didn't win the starting job initially for the Horned Frogs, but he has really come out once he's gotten in there and has shown what he can do, over 300 yards passing. And I think, we knew that he was very dangerous as a runner, but this year he's showing that he's a very capable passer as well. And I think the TCU offense is right now in a better place than Kansas. And I hope that changes this week, because I'm going to be honest with you guys. I really like this Kansas team as far as watching their offense and following them. Like I said, I'll probably be at work by the time this one kicks, but I'm going to definitely tune in and listen to it on Kansas's radio network there, and go back and forth between it and listen to a few games there while I work. But Kansas, I really hope that they, come out and perform better offensively than they did last week. And this one is a really close game. And I think it has the potential to be. Like I said, as far as the spread, I'd stay away from it because I think it's a bit of a toss-up. If I had to pick a team in this game, I think TCU is going to come out on top. But I'm pulling for Kansas. And that's kind of my thoughts on that one. Jalen Daniels in the Heisman race. Hopefully he can come out and put on a performance. And I think it really is dependent on if the Kansas defense is improved. They showed some things last week against Iowa State. We'll see if that transfers over against this high-powered TCU offense this week. But if not, we could be looking at a bit of a shootout in this one. So do with that what you will. But it's a game I'm excited to see, and probably the Big 12 game of the week in my eyes. And who would have thought that with the next one on the slate in the Red River rivalry? But I like TCU in this one, but I'm pulling for Kansas. And then, as I said, Red River rivalry also at noon. Texas traveling to Oklahoma. Or I guess Oklahoma's the home team, rather. On ABC at noon. Spread on this one currently, Texas 8.5. Personally, I didn't play that spread, but I wouldn't blame you if you did. I think Texas 8.5. You could probably play that. I could see Texas winning this game by double digits. Personally, I took Texas on a money line. I think that Oklahoma's defense is struggling extremely bad so far this season. You never know what's going to happen. They're going to get up for this game against Texas. It could end up being closer than that. That's why I chose to stay away from the spread. But I definitely think Texas has the upper hand and should win this game, especially for Texas when you're looking. Quinn Ewers coming back for the first time since they played Alabama, and we saw how great he looked in that one. And, Hudson Card's not bad in his own right, of course, as he torched the Mountaineers for over 300 yards and looked great. But Quinn Ewers, I think, is just a different level, and hopefully going to take that offense up to an even higher point than, what they are right now. And if he can do that, Texas is definitely a contender for this conference this season. And I think they're going to show that this week against Oklahoma. So I like Texas here. I think Quinn Ewers has a big day. Jatavion Sanders at tight end. Hopefully he'll get some things, going down the field for him. We know what Worthy can do. Whittington's really good. And then, of course, maybe the best player in college football, and Bijan Robinson, not to mention the two other running backs he has to go along with him in Roshan Johnson and Keelan Robinson, who are very talented as well. Just so many weapons on this Texas offense that, it's going to be hard for anyone to stop. And when you look at Oklahoma and how bad they've struggled on defense, it is bad. Look at that game last week against TCU. The TCU players are catching the ball without anyone within 10, 15 yards of them. And with what Texas offense has and Oklahoma's defense has looked, it's really hard for me to give Oklahoma a shot in this one. But the rivalry is the X factor. Those are going to get up for this game. So who knows? Could end up being close, but I definitely like Texas in this one. I want to say by double digits, but the rivalry prevents that. But picking Texas to win. We'll go with that. Moving on, two other games on the Big 12 slate this week. 3:30, you get Texas Tech traveling to also the other team sitting at the top of the Big 12 and currently undefeated, and that's Oklahoma State. And they're currently ranked number 7 in the country. That's going to be on Fox Sports 1. Oklahoma State favored by 9 currently is the spread on that one. And listen, I really like this Oklahoma State team. I liked them going in. If our Big 12 preview episode, if you guys caught that with our Season 5 kickoff show on the Country Roads Webcast podcast, we really, not we, I guess I really liked Oklahoma State. Everyone else kind of thought they would take a step back and were bigger on Baylor, which, hey, shout out Bradley Stephen, Oklahoma State taking down Baylor last week. I'm just saying, I was the one that said Oklahoma State was going to be the team to beat this year. So that's the one thing I have to brag about. So I'm going to go ahead and pat myself on the back about that one, because a lot of my other predictions this season haven't been so hot. But that's one that it seems that I have got right. And I do think this Oklahoma State team can be really dangerous. Last season we saw them kind of be more of a defensive team. This year it looks like they reverted back to more of what we know from Mike Gundy with that high-flying offensive attack, and the defense may have taken a step back after losing Jim Knowles. But if that defense can continue to improve throughout the season under Derek Mason, the former Vanderbilt head coach, I think Oklahoma State not only has a chance to win the Big 12 conference, but they're probably the only team in the conference, that has a chance to get the Big 12 back into the college football playoff. But I don't know if they'll be able to do that. Like I said, this conference I think is going to beat up on each other a little bit this season. But I digress on that. Talking more specifically about this matchup against Texas Tech today at 3:30. It's in Stillwater. Advantage Oklahoma State. Texas Tech's shown they can do some things offensively. Oklahoma State's defense has struggled a bit, but I think this could be a bit of a get-right game for Oklahoma State. I actually like them to cover the 9-point spread. I think that they can win this game by about 2 touchdowns over Texas Tech. I know that they had the great performance against Texas, to come from behind and win, and I think that they'll definitely, one thing that they're going to do under Joe McGuire is they're going to fight, and, no matter how much they get down, they're probably going to continue to try and claw their way back in this game. So who knows, could end up being a bad beat later, and they could close to within 10 and, within 9 rather, and hurt anybody that takes that spread. But I like Oklahoma State's chances in it. I really like this Oklahoma State team. Spencer Sanders playing great. Braden Johnson at wide receivers really having a good year as well. And their offense appears to be, back to his old high-flying ways, like I said. And Spencer Sanders appears to hopefully maybe got his turnover problems, his interception woes under control. So I like Oklahoma State not only to win, but possibly to cover in that one as well. And then Kansas State, also in the top 25 here in the Big 12 Conference, ranked number 20. They're 4-1, going on the road to a tough place to play in Ames. And not only are they going in Ames to face Iowa State team, who's currently 3-2, but it's a night game on ESPNU at 7:30 tonight, and that is a tough place to play at night. Tough place to play in general, but night games at Iowa State are pretty special from what I heard. Never got the opportunity to be there, would love to eventually, but I've seen, firsthand West Virginia go in there as a top 10 team and get dominated. And, not only West Virginia, I've seen it for other teams as well firsthand watching those games. But I do know that it's a very tough place to play. Awesome atmosphere there in Ames. So Kansas State currently favored by 1. Oh, I'd probably stay away from that one, just because in general I'd stay away from it because, like I said, Iowa State, tough place to play. If I was taking that one, I don't know if I'd take the spread. I'd probably take Kansas State on a money line, if anything. But Iowa State's such a tough place to play that I think it's a game that I could definitely see Iowa State pulling the upset in this one. But I like this Kansas State team. I know on our season prediction roundtable, Kuz mentioned them as possibly a dark horse, and I think that's turning out to be the case as well. Both the Kansas schools look really good, Oklahoma State and TCU. That's kind of the top of your Big 12 right now. And, of course, Texas lurking there as well and has a lot of potential, and it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out moving forward. But looking at this game specifically, I think Kansas State just has some weapons that they should be able to score a little bit on Iowa State, despite the fact that we know Iowa State always plays good defense there. John Haycock and that interesting scheme that they have that kind of a lot of programs around the country have copied in recent years to kind of stop these RPO offenses. Iowa State kind of originated that and was the reason they found great success, a few years ago for the first time under Matt Campbell, was what they've done defensively. But, of course, the Big 12 teams, we've seen it for a few seasons now. There's going to be wrinkles, but Kansas State in turn has wrinkles as well. And more importantly, they have weapons. Brooks and Knowles on the outside are both great weapons. And then, of course, Deuce Vaughn's going to run on you. He's going to catch passes on you. He's going to line him up all over the field, and he's one of the better players in the conference. And then how about Adrian Martinez and the resurgence of his career after he's come to Kansas State? We saw the struggles that he had at Nebraska, hasn't been as turnover prone at Kansas State. And not only that, he's got Colin Klein, who we all remember from West Virginia's, first year in the Big 12 when Kansas State reached number 1 in the country, and he was dominating and ended up going to New York for the Heisman ceremony. He's their offensive coordinator now, and I'll be darned if he doesn't have Adrian Martinez looking like, just a smaller, more modern age version of Colin Klein running that attack, hurting you with his legs, hurting you with his arm. He's been killing everyone in the conference so far, and I don't think that'll slow up against Iowa State. I'm picking the Wildcats in this one, but watch out for the potential upset, though. I will say upset alert, but I got faith in Kansas State to get the win. But Hunter Deckers looks great at Iowa State. Iowa State defense going to be solid. Night game on Ames is tough, so Kansas State on upset alert, but I'm still picking the Wildcats in that one. So that being said, this is kind of a look at the Big 12 slate today here as we get through this impromptu bye-week Babble Saturday live stream here on the Country Roads webcast channel. Really appreciate you guys that have tuned in, and I guess we kind of accomplished everything we set out to do here in this one. Wanted to talk about the top 5 highest graded PFF players for the Mountaineers on offense and defense, covered that, and wanted to go through the Big 12 slate today and kind of give my picks on that. So done that as well. A little early, so it doesn't look like we got too many people in the chat yet. So hopefully you guys tune in on the playback. But either way, whether you're tuning in now or you're tuning in on that playback, while you're here, do us a favor, hit that like button, give us that thumbs up. That'll help this video's performance and help future videos' performances as well. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, the little red button there. Helps us, helps you, and helps get more of this Mountaineer football content out to Mountaineer Nation. And as I said, if you are subscribed, hit the little notification bell right there beside the subscribe button. It will notify you when we go live, which really helps, especially for live streams like this one that are impromptu sort of things, sort of deals here. But that being said, really appreciate everyone that has tuned in, and hopefully everyone has a great Saturday and gets to enjoy some college football as the Mountaineers are off. So hopefully you're not too invested in it as much and you don't have to deal with any heartbreak or anything like that this week. So that'll be easy, kind of a stress-free day for the Mountaineer fans, right? To get prepared for Thursday showdown against the Baylor Bears. So that'll be nice. Bo Stacker says, "Let's go Mountaineers." I appreciate you jumping in here, Bo, and tuning in. I think it's the first time I've seen you here in one of our live chats. So welcome, and hopefully you continue to come back. We'll be here throughout the season. And as always, we are here covering the Mountaineers and covering Mountaineer football. And we'll have plenty of coverage on that upcoming Baylor game on Thursday. That being said, so definitely have a Baylor preview pod coming out. That'll be episode 140 of the CRW pod, dropping early this coming week. And then I'm hopefully going to have a little bit something extra in the works this week as well. On top of that, trying to work out something with a friend of the show from the Baylor 247 sports site that I've been featured over there before, as I'm sure you all have seen in past seasons. Articles, Q&As with them and stuff. So then also on the Please Bear With Me podcast that he used to host there as well. So hopefully we're going to try and work something out and maybe get a little debrief on the Baylor Bears and get to know them a little bit better ahead of that game and help out our fans to know what to expect to see from Baylor in that game. So that'll be coming potentially if we can get the schedules worked out on that one. But definitely the Baylor preview and predictions podcast coming soon, early this coming week, episode 140 of the CRW pod. So be on the lookout for that. And then, of course, gotta plug our live show immediately following the games, which you can check out on the Voice of College Football channel and the West Virginia Mountaineers Voice of College Football channel. Please go subscribe to that as well if you haven't already. Trying to get that up there as well, trying to grow that channel and grow more of the Mountaineers brand, the West Virginia brand, which is what we all want to do, right? Get West Virginia out there first and foremost with, some of these other bigger names in college football that have a bigger reach here on YouTube. I guess we're trying to grow the West Virginia reach as well. And I think we're doing a great job of that so far. And a lot of that is to you guys that tune into those post-game shows and in the chat and stuff. So hopefully you guys continue to do that. And we will be back there. Hopefully by 11 p.m. we will have a start time, immediately following the game. So hopefully it'll start up by 11 p.m. immediately following the Baylor game. Catch that here on our channel. Catch that on the Voice of College Football channel or the West Virginia Mountaineers at the Voice of College Football channel. So plenty of places to see it. No reason for you not to tune in and come drop your thoughts about the game there in the chat with us, and we'll talk Mountaineers following that Thursday game. So, and then of course after the game, we'll have these PFF grades back out little bit quicker for that one. And then who knows, maybe some other content as well. Didn't get to do a cruise film review for the Texas game. Maybe I will for the Baylor game. We'll see how it plays out with schedules and stuff. But nonetheless, regardless, there will be plenty of West Virginia football content coming throughout the season here on the Country Roads webcast channel, as well as the CRW Hoops Pod will be kicking up soon, or tipping off soon, I guess I should say, since we're going with a basketball analogy in that one. Stephen will be hosting that basketball season, getting ready to come around the corner. The Mountaineers are practicing, so that'll be coming as well here on the Country Roads webcast. So plenty of reasons for you to subscribe here if you're a Mountaineer fan. No reason you shouldn't be. Just more content for you to get. And I know we all can't ever get enough of that Mountaineer content, and we will have plenty of it coming here on the Country Roads webcast. That being said, as always, I'm Jordan Cruz, and until next time, let's go Mountaineers.